Hello, welcome to Sportsbeat After Hours. I am your host, Hema Jr. Joining me today, as always, the internet Jesus himself, Sean Walker.
Heavy emphasis on the internet, less emphasis on the Jesus, mostly because I don't want to get struck by lightning here at the KSL Triad Center / Broadcast House.
Smart.
So, yeah.
Smart move.
Mostly internet, less Jesus.
And we are joined by the local lovable Canuck, Zak Hicken.
I was told I can't use my Canadian accent today, so just American.
Oh, we've got the
Pleasant Grove's finest.
Pleasant Grove's.
Can we still call you Pleasant Grove's finest? Because
absolutely not. Actually, let me say this.
Little bit of breaking news. Little congratulations to Zak Hicken's alma mater, Pleasant Grove High School. Class 6A inaugural Class 6A boys basketball, boys soccer state champions. So let's just start this off now with
I will start this off with congrats to the Pleasant Grove boys soccer team. Really big accomplishment, first championship in school history, but I have 2 state championship rings. They have 1.
Ooh,
so
wow.
I'm going to be that guy now.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
The gauntlet's been dropped, though.
Yeah, I can't wait. You'll have to tell us about your 2 rings because I have 0. Let me just get out there. Happy Memorial Day weekend to the people listening. Special day, special time. You'll be able to spend it with your loved ones, remembering those who have passed, especially remembering those who have served and those who are still serving in the armed forces. Special thank you to you guys.
Shout out to all y'all veterans out there.
There's a big announcement, or not announcement, a big thing happened this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Solo came out.
What's that? Is it the Hope Solo movie?
Too soon. Wait, no. Is that too soon?
What?
Never too soon. Never too soon when it comes to Hope Solo.
Han Solo.
But if you haven't heard, the new Star Wars movie came out, and I heard the box office returns were so low.
Oh my gosh. You did not just do that.
Yeah, I went there. I went there.
Well, surprise, surprise. I haven't seen it yet. Have you guys seen it?
No.
I have not seen it.
Okay.
I have not seen it. I would make fun of you, but I haven't seen it. Neither has Zak Hicken. Neither has most of America, apparently.
Oh.
Have you guys heard the new Solo, the Han Solo spinoff for Star Wars, debuted Thursday-ish, Friday, technically Friday, but really Thursday because that's how movies work these days. Mm-hmm. Set a franchise low $83.3 million in ticket sales over the 3-day weekend. It's a franchise low for Star Wars films.
So
that's like as bad as like a Jar Jar Binks movie.
I want to say this is surprising, but I also want to say it's not because just like there's been superhero fatigue, when there's a new Star Wars movie coming out every year, there's going to be Star Wars fatigue setting in. As awesome as Star Wars is, it's hard not to get sick of something when it's so repetitive. And I don't know. I legitimately, I loved Rogue One. Mm-hmm. I think the only Star Wars movie I can get excited for now is if they do an Obi-Wan movie while he's a hermit, which it sounds like they started production for it.
Right? They are, right? Okay. So I liked Rogue One as well. Let's talk about our favorite Star Wars movies. Let's talk about how we would rank our favorite ones from like favorite movies, Star Wars franchise movies, installments to least favorite.
Maybe we can even talk about like what we want from Star Wars in the future.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good. So let's break it down. I know that Sean Walker, he on Twitter posted his from top to bottom favorite Star Wars movies.
Some of them.
Are you added like some of the anime cartoon series as well?
Well, yeah, because it's canon, right? It's canon.
Okay.
And so anything that's canon counts.
Okay.
What if we haven't seen everything that's canon?
Let's just talk about.
What are you, Canadian?
Let's just do the top.
Shout out to my Canadians out there.
Let's just do top 5.
1/4 of me.
Okay, I don't know if we have time to do all our favorite Star Wars stuff, top to bottom, but
That's probably fair.
We can do the top 5. Okay, so Sean, go ahead and break down your list that is on Twitter, and then we'll talk about ours that hasn't been put out in the internet yet.
Before we do this, I think we need to crack open a cold one.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the stuff. Yeah. So those who follow me on Instagram, I put this on Instagram, Deshaun Walker on Instagram. That's the full name, Sean, like the Lord spelling. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about kind of the latest Star Wars installments because a lot of people, I think you're right, Zach, in that a lot of people are kind of getting some Star Wars fatigue, which I don't understand, but I also grew up on Star Wars. Like, I was surprised. Breaking news, guys. I was a really big nerd growing up.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Shocker. Absolute shocker. So I kind of grew up on Star Wars. Like, I remember going to, like, opening night for the non-canonized prequel trilogy. At least it shouldn't be canonized because it's awful. But I remember... I remember when I turned 12 years old, I grew up in Utah, grew up in the LDS church, and I remember when I turned 12 years old, my best friend's oldest brother sat him down, we were all around the same age, and he gave us a 40-minute speech that started with, you see, guys, the Force is kind of like the priesthood.
Oh my gosh.
and it was all downhill from there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about where kind of these new Star Wars films sort of fit into the pantheon of all time. And as much as we're seeing Disney, I think, improve on the Star Wars universe in a lot of ways, I don't think they've reached the summit yet. I don't think they've reached peak Star Wars at the moment.
Let me just say that they've improved because George Lucas was freaking destroying the franchise.
He was kind of running it into the ground. Right. And also, so far, Disney hasn't mentioned the 3-letter word of Jar Jar Binks.
Thank God, because he's awful.
Yeah, right? But the reason why I say I don't think they've reached peak Star Wars yet is because there's nothing in the Star Wars universe that has eclipsed the greatness that is Empire Strikes Back.
Well, I don't know how you can eclipse something like Empire Strikes Back. I think Empire Strikes Back is probably one of the top 5, if not top 3, all-time classic movies.
Of all time?
Yes, all time.
Okay.
I mean,
like Citizen Kane level.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Citizen Kane, but I put it up there with like Jaws.
Okay.
Like The Godfather. Like, everyone has seen Empire, or if they haven't seen Empire, they know like what the big pinnacle moment is in Empire. Like, it's obviously the part where Luke keeps Worm by gutting a tauntaun. Yes.
That's the pinnacle, right?
No, like
spoiler alert.
I mean, here's the thing, like, as a kid growing up, kid in the 90s, like, I wanted to be like Luke Skywalker, and I wanted to fight AT-ATs and
the snow speeders.
The snow speed. I wanted a snow speeder and like all that stuff. Like, that has just like from beginning to end, it is the perfect Star Wars movie, from the opening battle scene to
all the way through the Battle of Hoth.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's perfect. Like, that's why every Star Wars video game, I play Battlefront. Every Star Wars video game has a battle on Hoth
because it's
that you can go and play, because it's literally the best battle scene in the entire series.
Yeah.
This is 8 main series films so far, 2 spin-offs. That's 10 films so far. And I would maybe say like the second most iconic. I mean, Endor's probably second most iconic. Third has probably got to be in Rogue One. The planet or moon that they end up on.
The Praetorian Guards?
Wherever
Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One, sorry.
I was going to bring in the Praetorian Guard scenes.
We'll talk about
that. So Force Awakens.
Sean, you go Empire. I think all 3 of us are in agreement that Empire's number 1.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
what's your second, Zach?
My second, I put Force Awakens.
Wow, really?
And let me tell you why.
Okay, I want to hear
this.
I
think so. I was only 5 years old when the prequel trilogy came out.
Fair.
I didn't have that hype building up.
AKA about the same age as Jake Lloyd when I think he starred in episode 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, me and him were boys. But let me tell you, so for terrible acting or just
no,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. He should have. Oh, geez.
So let me tell you this. The Force
I mean,
Awakens,
I knew he was bad, but I didn't. I mean, like,
I
I
don't
didn't think
like
he was that
sand.
bad. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
there was so much build up for and I know there was a ton of build up for the prequels, but I didn't experience that because I was very young at the time. In fact, when the prequels came out, I thought they were freaking awesome. Like, as a kid between, I think the last one came out when I was in 4th grade, so I was about 9. As a kid between the ages of 5 and 9, those movies were freaking awesome. Like, they had tons of action, tons of battles, tons of fights, lightsabers, guns, spaceships. The graphics were at the time cutting edge. They're extremely dated now. They're absolutely garbage. I mean, goodness, learn how to freaking use a green screen, bro. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just it's so bad to look back on now. That like, no. Hey, I will say this though: the second best Star Wars video game was based on pod racing. At Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer.
That's true.
Okay, I mean we have so much that we can go into with Star Wars and this whole Star Wars universe, but
that's interesting that you put.
I put The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens, because there was so much build up and so much hype up to it, and when I went to the movie, I was completely satisfied coming away with it. I had questions. I wanted more. I love these new characters like Finn and Rey and Poe are all freaking awesome. Like, after that first movie, I felt that way about them, and like I connected with them, and I wanted more. Like, I wanted to know more about them. I wanted, I was so excited for Rey to, take on the cloak of being, becoming the next Jedi, the next student of Luke Skywalker. And
interesting.
In the back of my mind, I like wanted Finn to be like this next like badass Mace Windu type guy, and Poe like is gonna be the next Han Solo. Like, I was so excited for these, and I know it followed that classic Star Wars formula where there's a giant weapon, they need to destroy it, but it plays so well that why not just do it again? Yeah, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and just introduce us new characters.
And here I think I see is where you see kind of the big age difference between young Zachary and Hema and myself, is because everything that you're describing right there, this is kind of how I felt when I saw A New Hope. And this is why I think Star Wars A New Hope is the second best Star Wars film of all time. Because and the reason why I knock The Force Awakens isn't because I dislike The Force Awakens. It has something I think it's phenomenal. I think it's top 5, top 6 all time. But The Force Awakens was a new hope for a new generation. Absolutely. It was for those who don't remember A New Hope, who rewatch it when it comes on cable television, whatever, and think, ugh, these graphics are so dated, like whatever, right? So for those of us who, I don't want to say lived through A New Hope, because I mean I wasn't alive when it came out in theaters in 1978.
Well, I mean,
for
the majority of your childhood and your teenage years, your formative years,
it was still this thing. It was still this thing. It was in pop culture. There were television shows based on these characters. There were action figures. It was everywhere. And so that's why A New Hope is kind of number 2 for me, and why I feel like I kind of need to ding Force Awakens is because I didn't necessarily need that. Right. But I understand 100% for someone who's a little bit younger, even just a little bit younger, like young Zachary Higgin, or even for growing teenagers right now. Like, they need that experience of seeing Star Wars in the theater for the first time, and so they follow that very formulaic, very standard, traditional Star Wars model and kind of created A New Hope for a new generation.
What I think is cool is that I think our choice, mine was also A New Hope, and with Zach's choice being The Force Awakens, it's really interesting because I feel like with The Force Awakens, with Rogue One, they started making special effects more, what is it called? So Star Wars their special effects were more
So I think
practical, right?
Yeah, like it was more
like small models.
It was a continuation of what they did in the original prequels, in the original series, the original trilogy, rather than in the prequels where everything was CGI.
Exactly, and I think that's what appeals to all of us at the same time, which is really interesting.
Well, one thing I'm going to throw in there is I feel like for people kind of in my generation, George Lucas, unfortunately, kind of like destroyed the original trilogy by going back and like re-editing everything.
Oh, the remasters?
Basically, like all the remasters. Like, I think starting in like 97 is when like he started releasing that, and like they don't even sell like the original film commercially anymore. And so by the time I got to like 2005 and they replaced like Anakin, the original guy that like played Anakin with Hayden Christensen at the end of Return of the Jedi, like it's just it's just so like the movies have just been changed so much that like while I understand their classics, like I feel like A New Hope's probably been the one that's been the most affected by it. Just because like so much has changed, like just so many things that are like culturally significant about that movie, including the whole Han shot first,
right,
has been changed. Exactly. And so like when I actually heard that this was like a dilemma that people had, or like an argument that people had, like I didn't understand.
Did you think it was no big deal?
Yeah, I thought it was no big deal. I didn't know why like people made a big deal out of it. And now that like after like I actually did some research about it, I understand why, and it makes sense to me. But I mean, he just butchered the original trilogy.
It's like the only other thing that he could have totally destroyed is if like when Leia says "I love you," and if they made Han Solo say "I love you" back instead of saying "I know." You know what I'm saying? Because him shooting first, him saying "I know" is so important to his character, and it's so essential for the story that's why I freaked out.
Well, plus they like threw in like the CGI like dancing chicks and like I don't know.
Yeah. But for me, the story is like the most important thing, which is why after A New Hope, I ranked as my number 3 Rogue One. Rogue One obviously comes before A New Hope, and I freaking love how it the end of Rogue One is like exactly the first frames of A New Hope, which I thought was awesome. What was your third, Sean?
And it perfectly bridges kind of the prequel events. So not quite episode 3, but roughly that prequel era with episode 4. Like, and it does it so perfectly and so seamlessly. That I agree. Rogue One. I think Rogue One belongs in the discussion of top 5 Star Wars films of all time.
Awesome.
However, I will say, and I discussed this a little bit with you off pod, Hema, so spoiler alert. But I will say, don't read too deeply into Rogue One because it might ruin a lot of the magic. There are some facets of the Star Wars universe that I don't know if they completely get right. And some of the stuff that they take liberties with is stuff that's not necessarily canon to Star Wars. To be fair, the timeline doesn't really match up in a lot of ways. But it's a fun movie. It's overall, it's great pacing. It's
interesting.
Yeah, in a movie sense. I mean, I think it adds a lot to the story. I think the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks.
Right.
But don't deep dive into it, otherwise you're going to ruin it.
I explained this theory with you earlier, or this idea that I think that Rogue One could have been better as a series on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix series. Yeah,
like because I feel like they had so many characters.
Give us 13 Reasons Why Rogue One.
No, let's not talk about 13 Reasons Why.
Right, it's sad enough, right? But if they would have gave it maybe like 10 or 11 episodes, each episode's like a half hour or so, they could have fleshed out the characters more in depth. They could have seamlessly gotten their story straight before it seamlessly moves into A New Hope. So I think that would have been awesome to watch. Plus, I could have binged the whole thing in like one night for sure. Who doesn't love more Star Wars? You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. For my number 3, I put Rogue One at number 4. And
Okay.
just to kind of continue on with this discussion, since you guys have had the same one so far, the reason I really loved Rogue One is because it brought a new genre of movies into like the Star Wars film. It's kind of like a war / like heist film, and so it's really exciting, and it brought just like kind of a different attitude towards the Star Wars. And then I think that the ending is, I mean, second to Empire as far as like the best ending. Spoiler, guys, if you haven't seen it, skip.
R.I.P. Carrie
So
Fisher.
what happens is
Really R.I.P.
everyone
Carrie
literally
Fisher.
they literally have to give like the greatest sacrifice, and it turns this like scrolling text at the beginning of A New Hope into like something very real. And then the whole Darth Vader like just going through and just destroying people is so awesome. Like I had chills watching that.
Right.
And so that the reason it comes in at my number 4 though is because of Return of the Jedi, which I think is the perfect conclusion to the original trilogy. I introducing Jabba the Hutt at the beginning, and Luke with his new Jedi and his robot hand, and like in the black Jedi robes. That's my favorite version of Luke, and he's so awesome in that movie. And like Obi-Wan is my favorite Jedi, but Luke's a close second just because of like how freaking bad he is in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And likewise, Return of the Jedi is my number 4 movie.
Okay.
And just as you said, that's the best version of Luke, I also think that's the best version of Han Solo, namely the carbonite version.
Because he's quiet.
You don't like the dead version in episode 7?
Yeah, because sometimes he needs to shut up. No, but I feel like this is the moment where we see Han, in seriousness, this is the moment where we see Han actually like become a hero, and kind of embrace like, all right, I'm not just going to be some bad boy smuggler.
Right.
I can actually like do some good in the world.
He finds his purpose.
Yeah.
Like his character evolves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Star Wars is so perfect. The original trilogy, I should say, is so perfect because of the movie encapsulation of the hero's journey. You see it with Luke, most obviously, but you also see it with Han, and you see it with Leia. Even to an extent, you see it with the droids. I mean, there are all these like mini heroes' journeys going on through this trilogy that I think it works well, and you really see kind of the peak of Han's own hero's journey in Return of the Jedi, which I think is really cool as well. So yeah, so it's definitely in my top 5 as well.
So
mine too.
One thing that we forgot to mention is that like not only is it the best version of Luke, not only is it the best version of Han, it's the best version of Leia. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You mean General Organa on the speeder in Endor, right?
No,
that's the best version of Leia.
no.
The one draped with clothing? I don't think that's... No, just kidding. So I actually had Force Awakens as my number 4. Return of the Jedi was my 5th. And the one after that, my 6th, was The Last Jedi. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I thought it was pretty good. I think it was...
Do we want to debate this right now, guys? Because I think that
Sean has it pretty low on his list.
I have such a hard time with this movie.
It is low on my list.
Because there are so many aspects of it that I love.
Yeah.
Luke's character comes full circle for like the second half of the second third of the Star Wars movies, but there was so much unnecessary stuff, so much unnecessary plot.
That's true.
And that's really what dragged that movie down for me is the whole like Rose, Finn, Casino Planet, and then like the sacrifice thing. Like, what?
Why?
Finn's probably my favorite character I love Rey, but Finn's probably my favorite character in the new trilogy. And I honestly would have been okay with him sacrificing himself for the greater good because
it would have been better.
His character development is better, and like him willing to go that extra mile and like do what he can to just help what's left of the Resistance would have been awesome. And then freaking stupid Rose had to go through and just ruin it.
I agree. I feel like the benefits outweigh the cons in this instance. Okay, there was a lot of unnecessary crap, right? Like the
I mean, it is
the giraffe seal.
It is the second best version of Luke after Empire, I think.
Yes.
Also, I liked the development with Rey.
Yes.
And I also kind of like the way that it brought Rey and Ben together.
So let me talk about that part.
Okay, let's talk
about it.
It
has this movie, the reason why I ranked it so high, relatively speaking, is because it has like two of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. I would say two of the top 5 scenes in all of Star Wars in it, okay? The first one, obviously, is what you were talking about. It's the it's in the throne room with
the Praetorian Guard scene.
The Praetorian Guard scene, right?
Which is better with the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 soundtrack.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Look it up. But Rey and Kylo Ren join forces and just destroy these guards, man.
Well,
and it's amazing. I loved it.
It's so amazing, but the scene that happens right before that, where General Snoke gets murdered, is like the most anticlimactic thing, where there's like so much. I mean, we literally had 2 years.
Or does he?
That is a good point. I mean, it is very possible that he's not dead, but we had 2 years leading up to this freaking guy being like introduced and like, you know, possibly getting some backstory. And who was it? Ryan Johnson was the director for this one. Literally just freaking swerved right out of the lane and like completely avoided it. Like, I just thought it was so odd.
Very Joss Whedon-esque.
But that's what I liked about it, though, right? Because we're so used to The Force Awakens being almost an exact replica of A New Hope that I really like that we all expected them, that we expect Snoke to be such this level 10 boss that when Kylo Ren just chops him in half, we're just like, oh, it's over. Well, now what? We have no expectation. And then him and Rey team up and freaking go to town on these guards. And that's why I like it so much. I also think that the idea that they were trying to, you know, pull each other to each other's sides in this truce, so to speak, was really compelling. Like the way that Kylo says, yeah, you should join me and we'll freaking destroy everybody. And Rey's like, no, we shouldn't. You should join me and you can do some good or whatever. And that's why I thought that scene was so great. Another scene that I thought was so great, and you talked about it a little bit, was that this was like the best version of Luke when he freaking, Force projects himself across the galaxy. I thought that was dope. And they're like firing everything they have at him and nothing happens. I like that.
I mean, what was your reaction when you saw that in the theater? That, you know, like he's literally just getting lit up, and then he just walks through the smoke.
Yeah, when General Hux, is that his name?
Yeah, my actual reaction, my literal reaction when I saw that moment in theaters would give us an explicit tag on this podcast. So I'll hold off on it because I literally dropped an F-bomb. Like in the middle of the theater, there are like 8-year-old kids around me and stuff, and I'm just like, holy
bleep.
Yeah, I'll stop there.
I'm pretty sure like almost everyone in the theater probably thought that.
Like, holy. Yeah.
But
yeah, that's definitely like a top 10 Star Wars scene of all time.
For sure. And that's why I rated that movie so high.
You're making me rethink my rankings too.
Oh, interesting.
A little bit, Hema. Because that's actually a really good point. Because the reason why I didn't necessarily rate The Last Jedi is because I felt like there was too much nostalgia for nostalgia's sake in a lot of ways. Like, it's a very open secret that Force Awakens was trying to take A New Hope and make a new version of it, and it worked out fine, and they changed a few details, and like things were kind of cool for the most part. But then I felt like for large chunks of The Last Jedi, they were trying to be both Empire and Return of the Jedi, and they were kind of mushing them into one, but not really, like, failing to be both at the same time. So trying to be both.
To do both, but not
trying to be
either.
both, but not really being either.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But Man, that's a really good point. And that you think that they're going to be both, and then it turns out that they're not, and it completely spins the universe kind of on its axis. So I think maybe how Disney follows up
Sure. Will determine
could determine my final thoughts
Interesting.
on Last Jedi.
So you have
Maybe.
as your let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your sixth, you put the Clone Wars series.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
And I know we said like 5, right? We're going into 6 territory. We can talk about our 6 and then we can move on after that. I think it's been a good discussion though, so I want to keep it going.
But the Clone Wars is, and for those who haven't seen it, I think is it still on Netflix? No, I think it's off Netflix. But it will be coming to Disney Plus or whatever their new OTT streaming service will be called soon, or just go buy them, because they're awesome. The Clone Wars is an animated series kind of about that like semi-prequel, semi-right before original trilogy, the Clone Wars, obviously, area that's just about kind of the early days of the Empire and the Jedi's fighting them and whatnot. And I feel like it develops story a lot better than most of the movies. And obviously they're given a lot more time, they're given a lot more freedom, they're given a lot more kind of room to breathe and to really seek out the story, just by the nature of it being a multi-season series as opposed to one like 2.5 hour long movie. But if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, because I know it is a little bit, it's not off canon, but it's a little bit kind of off kilter for most mainstream Star Wars fans, I highly recommend it, just because I think you understand more of the motivation of some of the original Jedi Council, guys like Mace Windu, etc., for things that they do in particular
movies.
in like Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it gives just a lot more context.
So
overall.
let's talk about that. Like, okay, we're done listing, but I did find it interesting that none of us had the prequel 3 in our top 5, but all of us put Episode 3 as the best of the prequel trilogies.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that it is the best.
Right.
1 is garbage and 2 is worse. So, but to that point, there are some really great scenes in those movies, but the dialogue is just so terrible.
Except for Episode 2, it's pure garbage.
Yes. I mean, Annie, I just want to... I mean, seriously, like, I can't believe that it didn't ruin all of their careers, and I almost feel bad for, like, people like Samuel L. Jackson and, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name?
Who are you talking about?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor. Like, this honestly, like, it's amazing that people and
Natalie Portman got through unscathed also.
Well, Qui-Gon Jinn too. Like, you look at the actors that were in this movie.
Also, Natalie, if you're listening to this podcast, call me.
So you look at the people that were in these movies, and it should have been good, but the writing for it was absolutely terrible, especially the dialogue.
Yeah.
But there were so many great action scenes. I mean, you look at Episode 1, possibly the best lightsaber battle.
Oh yeah.
Between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. Like, that was so amazing.
Yes.
I mean, if you really want to talk about an anticlimactic ending, though.
Yes.
Darth Maul is one of the coolest characters in the Star Wars canon, and he's extremely underutilized just because of the way
do you guys
that
hear
battle ends.
Never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
There are some other.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, there are some other off-canon.
I'm not going to say anything.
I mean, there are some other off-canon interpretations.
No, what I'm going to say is canon, so I'm not going to say anything. I just can't say another word. Episode 2 also has an awesome Star Wars battle between Yoda and Count Dooku.
Oh, right.
Especially like for a CGI fight, that's actually incredibly well done. I think that's probably the best use of CGI in like the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's fine.
Granted, I haven't seen that scene for probably about 3 or 4 years, so
we'll find out if it's aged.
I mean, if we go back and look, it could be incredibly aged.
No, it's fine. I mean,
and
it's
Episode
fine,
3, it's the best. I mean, it ties up all the loose strings of everything that happens in the prequels.
You see Anakin's arc almost
you
complete.
see it become complete, and
It's like the anti-hero journey.
Introduces everything that's going to happen in, the original trilogy that everyone loves.
Let me just say, like, him, like, killing all those people is, like, probably one of the saddest parts of...
the Padawans.
Yeah, the Padawans. Yeah. I mean, and it's just before, his mother dies, that's another sad part. It's just like, oh, now we understand.
Hate leads to anger, and anger leads to fear.
We understand Darth Vader now. You know what I mean? Whereas before, it was just like some scary dude.
There was so much bad stuff in there, like midichlorians and
oh man,
like just the stupid. I don't know. I mean, George Lucas. Thank goodness that you freaking got rid of the rights to Star Wars, because I think Disney's doing a lot of right things.
By the way, SNL's portrayal of George Lucas is probably my favorite of all time.
I'll have to look that up.
I forget the actor's name, but he's always like just really creepy and weird, and that's what I imagine George Lucas to be.
I'll have to check it out. But I think one thing that we kind of want to do is before like our final thoughts on Star Wars, maybe what we want out of Star Wars when we head in the future.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, Hema, I'll let you start. What do you want out of like, I guess, episode 9 and like any other spin-offs that we're gonna get?
Yeah, because we don't know where the ceiling is, right? We don't know how far this thing's gonna go.
Oh, it's gonna go until they
run out of money?
Until they stop making money.
Yes. Which Solo might be an indicator that.
Oh man,
it could be sooner than.
In Solo's defense, it did open Memorial Day weekend, and the box office numbers right now don't include Memorial Day. Memorial Day is traditionally one of the better movie seeing days at the box office.
Okay.
I probably
it could rebound in the next day or so,
and I probably will see it tomorrow. I was gone last week, so.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you that before Han Solo came out, I really wanted Han Solo's story, because he is by far the best character in the Star Wars universe. I think that's my opinion.
Opinions are sometimes wrong.
But he was. I mean,
I'm gonna decide more with him on this.
He's at least.
I don't know if he's the best, but he's up there.
Yeah, he's at least the most compelling. Like, where does his drive come from? Where is his origin? Like, why does he do what he does? Why did he have such a detachment from relationships? Like, I wanted to know all that stuff. So we'll see if Han Solo fulfills that. That was like the biggest wish for me for the series. Now that it's out, I don't know. They can really go anywhere with it, and I don't know necessarily what I really hope or aspire for them. I guess I really have no idea. They could. They should go somewhere else, find some new bad guy. Hell, they might even run into Thanos somewhere and throw it down. Mano a mano with him. I
want to see what Rocket Raccoon could do in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon.
You know what I'd really like to see? I would love to see a Star Wars Deadpool crossover. I know it would never happen, but I mean they're all owned by the same company now,
right? Deadpool crossing over with anything, I would definitely go see.
Deadpool,
unless it's actual Deadpool 2, which you still haven't seen.
Yeah,
right. I know. Shut up.
So, as far as like Star Wars, what I want to see out of Star Wars going forward, I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. My favorite character in the Star Wars universe is Obi-Wan Kenobi, that we don't really have. And we kind of know. I mean, he's basically been like one of the only guys that's been a mainstay throughout the entire series. I would say between him and Darth Vader, they have the biggest presence through all 8 films in like the main series that have come out so far. They've started production. Rumors are that they've started production of like a hermit version of Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor, who I think is the best actor in the Star Wars universe.
I think so.
I think he's the most talented. Most accomplished outside of everything else that he's done. Maybe besides Liam
maybe
Neeson.
Harrison Ford.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll have to debate that.
Indiana Jones, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
But
Harrison Ford's pretty accomplished.
Oh, Obi-Wan.
I mean, he's done quite a bit.
But I will say, okay, so I know Harrison Ford has obviously done quite a bit, but Ewan McGregor is I guess how I should have said it. He's a wider ranging actor, and he's accomplished more in different areas in theater, TV, as well as movies.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna bring the stage into this,
sure.
Yeah. Sorry, that's kind of what I meant. But I think that Obi-Wan is probably, in my opinion, is the most compelling character, and he's someone that they can use kind of like the main actor that everyone knows. I mean, I know that he's not obviously the original Obi-Wan, but like he's the one that everyone knows. The Solo that we got, that's not Harrison Ford.
Right.
And so that's kind of like my main drawback. I think the thing that draws me most to this movie is seeing Donald Glover as.
I think
Childish
Donald Glover. Gambino.
Yeah, I think Donald Glover's my biggest draw right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I just thought of this. Obi-Wan is a really compelling character. I agree with that. I think he's also
like,
cool.
What did he do for like 30 years?
Right. So, how I see him is I think he's like Kobe Bryant. Okay, let me finish.
Okay.
Obi-Wan is Kobe Bryant in the fact that Obi-Kobe. Obi-Wan fought freaking Darth Maul, and he probably threw down with Snoke. I don't know. Well, that remains to be seen. But then he also threw down with Darth Vader. He threw down with Anakin. Like he was the first person to
actually like beat Darth Vader.
Yeah,
he literally
almost
crippled
killed
Darth
him.
Vader. Yeah,
and then he finished off his career by reviewing Rey's tape on ESPN Plus.
He finished his career teaming up with Shaq. Kobe went toes with Michael Jordan, and then he went toes with LeBron James. Like, he's kind of that basketball character that kind of bridged two different eras of basketball, right?
Yeah, okay, I get.
So that's what I'm saying. Obi-Wan,
in his last game, he dropped 50 on the Jazz.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me. So we'll see what Obi-Wan does.
Love you, Kobe. Not.
And so I agree. I think that'd be cool to see more from Obi-Wan. I mean, I know we will, because there's going to be
they started production.
Obi-Wan
I mean,
movie.
that's what all signs are indicating towards. And the other one that they kind of rumored to be coming out when they started like this whole like anthology series, like, was it Jango Fett or Boba Fett? I think it was Jango.
Yeah, I think it's a Jango Fett series.
I think that's gonna be
original,
sweet.
the original clone.
Hey, if they need a Polly to play freaking Jango Fett, hit me up, George. No, not George Lucas. Who's the Disney president? I don't know. Never gonna happen.
Michael Eisner.
I have no idea what I'm saying. So what do you think is gonna happen in the future, Sean?
I want to see the direction, and this is mostly for, the post Last Jedi world. I want to see a new direction for this franchise.
Like,
I want to see it go somewhere completely different, somewhere
like
that it's
no force,
somewhere like to use another line from another space-based anthology series. I want to see Star Wars go where it's never gone before. I want to go like almost completely different, and that's why I think the discussion we were having about The Last Jedi really kind of finally struck a chord with me, because I'm starting to realize more and more that like it is kind of going different places, and now I want to see it go like completely
off,
like almost completely off the rails in a lot of ways. I want to see. I just wanted to totally change up, whether that involves maybe a nod to like some of the non-canon like books and scripts and screenplays and stuff that
how
have
about
been
like
written before.
like a video game, like the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic? Excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
yeah,
that would be awesome.
that's fine. But I want to see it. I want to see it go different. I don't want it to be.
You're sick of the Skywalkers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like there's an entire universe out there, and you're telling me that everybody has to be related and everybody has to go back to like this one family. Like, come on.
I mean, here's the thing, though.
I feel like there's more than that.
Okay, I think you might have like started like another 10-minute debate, because isn't that kind of what like Rey introduced in The Last Jedi by
or
like?
Did she?
But here's the thing, is she was told that her parents were nobodies. So if we're led to believe that,
But is that true?
I want to believe that, because then that
Maybe.
severs the connection of her being a Skywalker. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what my hope for that is.
Right, but now the popular theory, the predominant theory, is that was all a lie. And I don't like that theory.
Okay.
I don't like that theory very much. Like, I'm sorry, maybe I'm a heretic. Maybe you guys can like You can curse me out, send me mean tweets at Rod Zendel on Twitter. Like that's fine. Like totally, you can totally curse me out for that. But like, I want to see this go like completely different. And if you don't like it, you can hit me up on Twitter at Hema Jr. Like it's fine. It's totally fine. Kind of on top of that note, I'd also, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm getting political on this podcast because I hate politics, but I also would like to see the universe get a little bit more inclusive, just in terms of multiple races, ethnicities, even sexual orientations. Apparently, there's a nod to that in Solo, which I won't give any spoilers away. Maybe we'll do like a spoiler-ish podcast later. But
I have.
Next week. Let's do a follow-up next week.
Yeah.
After we all see it.
But I would like to see the universe kind of open up in terms of just racial and ethnic diversity, even sexual orientation, that kind of thing. Because again, I guess it all boils down to this is an entire universe.
Yeah.
Let's explore the entire universe rather than one like tiny little sliver of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like though they do need to be very careful because not with all that stuff, but like with the way they tell the story, because all the best parts of Star Wars are familiar stories that we all know, right? Like the hero's journey. There's a theory that says all of Star Wars is a Western. Have you heard that one?
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? I mean, there's just those kinds of storylines. So I want them to expand the universe, but they also need to pick like a familiar storyline that we talk about or that we're familiar with. I've heard some theory that like there's only 7 kinds of stories. Have you heard that one? And I think it'd be safer for them to expand the universe, but keep it in a familiar story. There's got to be some kind of bad guy. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know how they're going to present it, but
Kylo Ren, obviously.
Yeah. That's true.
Or
but
not.
I mean,
or not.
Or like
depending on who you really believe.
Is he
in.
bad though? Or is he
Right.
just idealized? Like he's got his
Right.
own ideals.
Right.
Well, I guess we'll see. So yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about as far as Star Wars goes?
I think we're pretty much all Star Wars'd out.
Was the
also no more Jar Jar Binks unless it's a spinoff about Jar Jar Binks and how he became Snoke.
Time travel. I love it.
Time travel. Yes.
Was Knights of the Old Republic, that video game, was that on N64?
No, it was on PC
Oh, yeah, that was
and
a PC
Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Was it on Xbox too?
They made a version of it.
I played it on PC.
I
so-
played it on PC as
Yeah.
well.
What was the Star Wars one that was on N64?
The original Battlefront.
Was it Battlefront? It had the Hoth battle on it for sure.
I think it was Battlefront.
All I remember is that there was a level on Hoth where you had to shoot all of the those like communication droids that are like, they look like crabs kind of. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Shadows of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire. That's it. I have that game somewhere.
Yeah, and there was a very popular Hoth scene that also involved getting in a Land Cruiser and tying up the
yes,
AT-ATs.
And you had to go around
The
like 5
AT-ATs.
times,
Yeah.
and then you have to unhook it.
Yeah,
Oh man,
that was great.
we were just
That was
playing
great.
N64 before we came in here.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
We were playing Mario Kart, and I swear our eyes could not understand what we were seeing. The graphics are so bad. Like we were getting headaches, and
But back in the day, like those were the graphics.
yeah.
The graphics. Let's get
These-
nostalgic for a second
Okay.
and realize like, so I just barely bought a Super Nintendo Classic, and I've been playing a lot of Super Nintendo. Shout out to A Link to the Past and
cool.
Mega Man and
Does that have-
and the previously unreleased version of Star Fox 2.
how many games are on?
So
that
I've
thing?
been 60-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
That's cool.
And so I've been playing a lot of the Super Nintendo Classic, and I'm realizing like obviously you don't expect the graphics to be great, but like in a lot of ways they're even worse than I remembered still.
Really?
Like even thinking back to like the old NES and the old Super Nintendo, like I feel like they've gotten worse. They haven't aged super well graphically or not like rhythmically in this, not like the actual story, but Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana is another really good one where like I still love Secret of Mana. I love the gameplay. I love the story overall. But man, it's really cheesy. It's just like it's so cheesy. And like I don't remember it being that cheesy. And like I can look past it and realize like how good the story really is, but I don't know.
Like, are you talking about like how Link has pink hair on A Link to the Past?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
I think that was probably my biggest pet peeve of like any Zelda game is that he just randomly had pink hair.
Yeah, Zach Hicken, not a fan of A Link to the Past. I don't understand that.
I
save that for another podcast.
I don't like A Link to the Past. We should talk about this next week, though.
Okay.
We'll talk our favorite Zelda games next week.
Let's do it, because we've been debating this for several days, I feel like.
Well, I think like the last several weeks that we've come in, you guys have made fun of me for what I said my favorite Zelda games are. And I have legitimate reasons why.
Okay.
But you jerks won't give me the time to actually talk about it. So
it's because your reasons are wrong.
Okay.
Everybody,
let me show you why they're right.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even if their opinion is stupid and wrong. Like Zach Hickens about Zelda.
Wow. Oh man. Yeah. We'll talk about that.
That might have been the hottest thing I've ever said into a microphone. Eat your heart out, Ben Criddle.
And now it's number 2.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
I love you, Ben. I love you.
Man, I don't know how
Ben,
else
Sean,
to
you
go
were on
after
one
that.
tonight, man.
Shout out to Ben Criddle, who's always told me, local radio host Ben Criddle, who's always told me that I need to spew more hot takes into a microphone. This is just the start of it. Get me talking about video games.
Dude, I don't know if I can get on the pod with you anymore if you're going to be tossing insults at him. I mean, he kind of is, he employs me at my other job, so I can't get in bad with him.
I'm sure this will all be quoted on Cougar Board in the morning.
Oh, man, can't wait. It's going to be great.
Shout out to CougarBoard.com.
Man, I think
our loyal sponsor of the podcast.
That's a good place to end it, I think. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. What about you, Sean Walker?
We should probably bring up shout out to a couple state champions this weekend.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we were going to talk about that. PG, baby.
So PG soccer, Alta soccer, Harriman softball. You shot the game.
I don't remember.
Box Elder softball, Jordan High's baseball, and Bingham High baseball. So
oh yeah,
those are 5A, 6A for softball, soccer, and baseball. Did I get was it Harriman for 6A softball? Mm-hmm. So a lot of great games.
Shout out to Box Elder, 5A softball champions,
you know,
coming through the losers bracket.
About Box Elder, that Box Elder Bountiful game, those two games are the two best prep games I've seen in probably 2 or 3 years.
Wow. It was great.
Hema watched the second game with me, and that second game was phenomenal. Yeah. Was it not?
There was some great catches. Oh, it was crazy because like on my field, it was a great game. Also, Grantsville, I think, was the girls that won that I was filming.
That was
last week. 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So I shot Grantsville last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
We should give shout out to the Grantsville softball team because they always deserve it.
It was You were shooting Harriman Syracuse.
Oh, was it Harriman? Oh yeah, that's right. It's been a long
it all blends together, guys.
Yeah.
Also,
I know
shout
you guys
out
are like,
Brody
man,
Aaron.
you guys are stupid for not knowing this, but like, honestly, it all blends together. It's also 1:00 in the morning.
Shout out to Dixie Baseball. While we're at it.
Oh yeah.
Dixie
Park
probably
City
had
Lacrosse.
the best ending of a game, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They
Game-winning suicide squeeze.
Yeah, suicide
squeeze.
Squeeze.
Yeah, that's right.
Shout out to Park City Lacrosse.
Park City Lacrosse.
Both boys and girls.
Lone Peak girls track winning their first title in 2 decades.
Oh, Lone Peak tennis sweeping sweeping
homer.
state. Shut up. No,
Corner Canyon girls golf with the 3-peat over in the 5A state meet.
Yeah.
I'm just going back like 3 weeks now. Whatever.
I think we've shouted out all these other ones, but
shout out to Harriman Wrestling for hiring Olympic gold medalist Rulon Gardner as their new coach.
Yeah, it was a big, busy, stressful week for us for covering all these prep sports, but now it's like there's nothing.
So it's even more stressful.
Yeah. We'll have nothing. But me and Zach are talking about coming up with some great content for prep sports. We'll be updating you guys, I guess. It's coming soon. There's a lot to get ready for. Football season.
It's right around the corner.
Right around the corner. So I'm super excited for that. Yeah, I think we're ready to tune out and drive home before we crash and die.
So shout out to the state champs. Shout out to the best Zelda game out there, A Link to the Past. Not Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask.
Ocarina.
This is Sean Walker signing off for Hema Hemuli
Junior.
and for Barry Melrose himself.
Thank you, A.
Peace.
That's good.